Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto Was Justice League's Fire Shadow. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. Lunchtime. Naruto smiled as he was now a few blocks away from the area where he helped the construction crew avoid becoming a massive bloody mess on the ground, and swung using his kunai wire. He soon reached a high-rise building while running on the walls with the tree-walking jutsu from before. As soon as he got up there, he surveyed the rest of the city, and decided to use his senjutsu to look over and see if there was anything left for him to take care of. As soon as he entered Sage Mode, he scanned all the chakra signatures he could sense. But as he did so, he picked a very faint trace of a very familiar chakra. He opened his eyes and gave a look of confusion. That can't be right, that chakra signature I felt faintly actually felt familiar. I take it we're going to have to check it out, huh? Exactly. It's not the chakra signature of Batman, Superman, Diana Hime, Hawkgirl, Old Sourpuss, Green Lantern, John, or Flash. Once I get a bit closer I might get a much better idea on just who this person is. Naruto quickly moved as fast as he could, and he was still in his Sage Mode to try and locate the chakra signature that he had sensed. He closed the distance with his Hirshin technique, and soon he was able to get a lot closer, and as soon as he was close enough he soon recognized the signature, and that actually made him stop and smirk a bit, while still feeling surprise. Well, now this is totally unexpected. What is she doing here? Naruto quickly went back to tracking the now familiar signature, and soon arrived at one of the high-rise buildings that he knew was housing some very interesting art and gallery treasures, worth some very high levels of cash. It was just the sort of score that the person in question could not ignore even on a bad day. And as soon as he got to the roof, he felt the signature was very close as he turned off his Sage Mode and moved into the building through the opening he found. He could already see the work of the person who had that chakra signature. But he also noted that nothing had been stolen yet, which meant that she either cleared out early or this was a trap. The answer on his mind on this being a trap came to him quickly when his danger senses kicked in as he stepped aside as a whip moved towards him and hit the ground. He soon felt the whip move back, and he knew that another attack was coming, and his danger senses alerted him, as he then rolled out of the way of the second strike, and quickly grabbed the whip, and held fast as he spoke out to the wielder. Alright, you got my attention, so stop hiding, Miss Catwoman, or as I say, Selina-chan. Soon a familiar voice greeted him as said woman appeared in her outfit of all things. Catwoman or Selina Kyle was smiling a bit as she made her way to the man. This raid in a place in daylight was usually not something she favored doing since she was more of a night person. That made things a lot easier, but she wanted to get the Hokage's attention somehow, so she decided to make her move in broad daylight, a risk to be sure. But then again, she thrived on risk a great deal. Not bad, I almost had the drop on you, almost being the operative word I guess. He shook his head at the sight of Selina Kyle, as the disguised woman was smiling at him. The last thing he had expected was to run into the seductive cat burglar here in Los Angeles of all places. He however kept in mind that he had to find out just what she was doing here in his city, so the blonde relaxed, and he decided to humor her as he approached her. Not that I don't like the company or anything, but there is a question of what are you doing here in LA and in broad daylight of all things? You're not on the run from Batman, are you? No, I'm not. Why are you concerned anyway? The fact me and him happen to be on the same team now is a good enough clue, Catwoman. The last thing I want is to have Batman grill me on why I seem to be friendly with you. So, what brought you here? Selina smiled and replied to that. Follow me and I'll tell you, Hokage. The way she moved made Naruto look at her and whistle mentally to himself, as the daylight made her costume look a lot more interesting, as well as allowing him to see every detail of her luscious form. And he was thankful that no one else was able to see this, considering the usual news helicopters were not flying about. He followed the woman as the two of them were now moving through the place at a faster pace. Apparently Selina had been training a lot more when they last met, and it took a bit more effort for him to catch her. But it was not long before the two of them arrived at a higher-end residential area in the rich and famous section of LA. They soon moved to a high-rise apartment, and soon they arrived at the penthouse area, and she landed there on the balcony. How they had managed to get here without alerting possibly half of LA still boggled his brain, but no doubt with things as they were, it was to be expected that people would be too busy at the time of the day to notice. Selina recoiled her whip and carried it on her shoulder, and then took off her cat mask and opened the glass door, but not before turning and speaking to him. You can relax. Before I went out to get your attention, I made sure to hack into the computer systems to make it seem that I had not left the room. Now you can relax and let me get dressed. Why in the name of the commie do you want to do that? From where I am looking, you look great in the leather getup anyway. Plus the smell of female sweat and leather is a real turn on too. Selina turned and replied in an amused fashion. You're a real flirt, Hustine. Naruto merely gave her a foxy grin, and she laughed as she went ahead to get change. It was here that Isis came out and meowed in Naruto's direction. The blonde smirked a bit as he placed his mask aside, and the cat soon moved to him and settled in his lap. He still had to admit to himself that he found the fact that Isis liked him a bit odd. His time with that feline tour did not give him a good impression towards cats, but he did make friends that massive tiger from the circus when he, Sakura, Rock Lee, and Kakashi were escorting Hikaru and his father back in his land all those years ago. That cat was way more dangerous than Tor, but he got along with that one just fine. Isis meowed when he rubbed his hand on her back, and he smirked even more as he spoke to the cat. You know Isis, compared to the cat Tor I had to find back when I was a kid, you are a saint compared to Tor. Why is it I wonder? The fact she might be sensing Natatobi's energy chakra from you might help. You want to explain that one to me again, Kurama? Later partner, don't forget that while Isis is not the same as the cats you dealt with back home, she no doubt can sense animal auras, and since Natatobi's chakra is now part of your own, Isis might be sensing faint amounts of it. Plus with your chakra being all warmth, sunshine, and light, it's not surprising that it puts her at ease. The fact that you are on good terms with her owner might also have an effect on her. Speaking of which, here she comes now. Naruto looked and he whistled even more as he saw that Selena had decided to wear a simple but very classy long-sleeved royal blue silk shirt, black leather pants, and comfortable-looking high-heeled shoes. Her hair was the same as before, and he could not help but enjoy the sight as he spoke to her once more. You look great, Selena-chan, so are you going to tell me what you are doing here? Selena smiled, and while she could lie to Naruto, she decided not to lie for the time being. She could do that at a later date anyway. I was being asked to help provide financial aid for a wildlife organization that was given the task to handle the travel arrangements of some rare white Bengal tiger cubs from a wildlife preserve from Asia to be shown to the public here in LA, then to Gotham before they get sent back. I decided to be there myself since I wanted to be there to make sure that everything went well, and if anyone wants to harm those cats, then I will be around. I might be on probation, but I am willing to risk it, as long as those cubs are safe. Naruto knew that Selena cared for cats, but this was a real step up the ladder. The white Bengal tigers were fairly rare, and therefore he had no doubt that there would be those who might take the animals and use them for whatever they wanted. And with Selena being a serious animal rights activist and her other persona as Catwoman, there was going to be trouble. However, that did beg the question on what was the reason for her breaking into the place earlier, and yet not steal anything. Okay, considering your love for cats, I can see why you want to see to this sort of thing personally. That still does not answer the question on why you decided to come out into the open as Catwoman. You do have a reason for it since you are on probation after all, right? Oh, I did that to get your attention, Hokage, since I have a proposition. Naruto raised his eyebrow at that and replied calmly. What sort of proposition? Why, to help me make sure these cats remain safe while here in LA, of course. This is your city after all. And since you understand some of my more great traits and you don't seem bothered by it, I figured asking for your help is a better idea than gunning it alone. LA does have a reputation, you know. Not as bad as Gotham's for sure, but still a rough and dangerous place. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that and thought it over. He did not see LA as his city, but he could guess why Selena said that. Just as Batman was the guardian of Gotham, and Superman was the guardian of Metropolis, he is the possibly termed hero of the city of LA, would gain that rather odd title. He did not see it that way since he did not interfere if the police could handle things on their own, and only helped if he saw that they were in way over their heads. To be asked by Selena to do this was something he did not expect, but he was still wary of Selena, and he replied. Okay, if that is the reason you have, I'll consider helping you, but are you sure that this is the only reason you're here? I am going to have a lot on my hands if you decide to take up residence here in LA, and start doing your act of being Catwoman, Selena-chan. I don't mind the company really, but if you start robbing the people here left and right, they might start wondering why you are here and why I am not dealing with you. Selena nodded with a smirk and replied. No worries there yet, Stein. I am still going back to Gotham. I happen to like it there, and I'm not all that sure that I am going to move out. Batman and all the other things I have to deal with there are tolerable to me, and also to Isis. Besides, if I want to move here and start over, you will be the very first to know. Naruto groaned mentally at that, and ignored the amused laugh made by his silent partner Kurama. But he did admit that maybe if that did happen, Batman would have less to deal with, and he was going to deal with the slack of Selena's antics. And he did recall that he enjoyed needling Selena, and also flirting with her when they were able to meet one another, namely during that time in Gotham. I take it you are going to try and flirt with me while trying to avoid being caught. Great, if the news people catch you and me running over the buildings and flirting at the same time while I am trying to stop you from robbing people, it's really going to make things interesting. Plus it will definitely spice things up around here in LA, if the people find out that Catwoman decided to take up residence here. Not that I mind really, but remember Selena-chan, I don't plan to stop you if you rob the corrupt and the criminal of their ill-gotten wealth. It only becomes an issue if you start robbing people who work hard for their money and prizes. Selena laughed at that and nodded as she took out the slip of paper that had address of the cat's next showing area. Alright, I'll make sure to keep things between us a secret. The cats will be moving to another area of LA later, so having you nearby will help. Can you be there at 9 in the morning at this address? Naruto looked at the slip of paper and nodded. I can make it. The question in my mind is if you are going to have company apart from me. I can bet that since the police no doubt know of your other identity, they would have people watching you. Selena nodded at that as she replied that some Gotham police officers in plain clothes were there, and the LAPD were going to loan some of their own plain-clothed officers to watch her. That and the route she had given him was enough to make him relax. After a while, he got up and left as he had to go back on patrol, but not before Selena asking him what exactly did he do with the pictures. The blonde shinobi casually replied to that with a teasing tone. What does any red-blooded young man do with such pictures, namely the ones with you in a swimsuit? It boggles the mind. Selena shook her head and frowned slightly. You really are a pervert at times. That coming from a lady who dresses up in tight leather that shows off a gorgeous figure, fights like a tigress, and seduces men to lower their guard so she could rob them blind. Kind of ironic you would call me a pervert when I can bet just about every guy who met you as Catwoman, good or otherwise, loves to possibly ogle you in that getup, and have who knows what sort of fantasies in the back of their heads. They'd have to be eunuchs or have an utterly unheard of fear and hatred of women, not to get attracted and possibly have perverted fantasies about you in the garb. Selena-chan. Don't worry though, the pictures are all safe with me, and I have not once used them outside for my own personal viewing entertainment. Are you telling me the truth? I swear on my ninja way of life and code of honor, none of those pictures have left my side. Besides, why the heck would I tell anyone that I had them? In Naruto's new home. Naruto sighed as he drove his SUV back into his home, and he was pleased to finally be home. He had skipped lunch since after finally agreeing to Selena's request for his help tomorrow. He had to help deal with another incident involving several gang members fighting one another, while some innocent people were caught in the crossfire. The police managed to move in, but the people caught there were pinned, and police could not get to them. He helped them out with his jutsu to get the people out, and helped subdue the gangs alongside the police. He also used his healing jutsu again on some of the cops and the innocent bystanders. He soon decided to call it a day and headed away and got back safely to the Waynetic warehouse where his vehicle was being stored away. But not before he moved through several buildings and used henge to lose any potential pursuers on his tail. Once he got back, he reverted to his disguise and soon got out of his Hokage garb and got dressed in the same clothes he had worn before, which were still in mint condition, though his Hokage uniform needed to be cleaned later. He checked his laptop and soon got the data he needed with his portable internet USB drive and locked it down, while placing aside his pay into the scroll, along with his Hokage gear. Once he did his rounds, he took out his keys and drove home, all the while not raising the attention of the police who were doing their job. One such task naturally involved keeping an eye out for him, or rather him when he was the Hokage. As soon as he got himself into his house, his senses warned him he was not alone. That was enough to make him grab a kunai and move slowly into his home, hoping to find out just who had managed to get into his house. As he got into the house and moved in silently, he got to the hall and readied himself, only to place down his weapon in surprise. Surprise. Naruto raised his eyebrows and smiled at the team he was now part of. There was Hawkgirl, Diana, Flash, John, Green Lantern, and Superman. The only one missing was Batman, but he did not mind. Judging from his foray into Gotham before, the guy was going to be busy keeping his home city from being taken over by gangs and whatnot. He smiled at the action, though he could tell that both Diana and Hawkgirl were not too good with the situation. He directed his attention to Green Lantern, or GL, as Flash called him, and replied, "This is a surprise. I didn't think that you would be willing to hang out here with me." Green Lantern shrugged at that and replied, "It was a slow day anyway, never been to LA." Naruto smirked a bit at that, but he was very happy that his team paid him a visit in his place, as he relaxed a lot more, now that he was assured that the people here were not the enemy. That did happen back home, but it had been some time now and he was naturally pleased that he was going to have company in his house. Diana was smiling a bit and gave him a package of fresh food. The food was fish, beef, chicken, vegetables, and some types of bread. "Sorry about the gift's appearance, Hokage, but considering what I saw in your old place, I figured getting you some fresh food would be better before the cooked food was brought in." Naruto grinned and replied with enthusiasm. In truth, he had not gotten the chance to buy supplies this morning, so having this package brought in was great. Plus he could use it to cook some food for later. "Thanks, Diana Hime. I learned to never turn down a gift in good faith, and coming from a princess with the beauty to match is a plus. I hope to repay you in kind when you decide to find a place to stay in yourself." The Amazon smiled at that and nodded, though she did find the praise to her looks as interesting. For now she took the time to admire the oriental look of the house. Having lived in an island which relied on Greek architecture for a long time in all of its building, seeing the new construction methods was indeed an interesting experience. Her sister Kasha, who was a skilled stonemason and one of the sister tasked to building structures back home, would have been interested in this place. Superman smiled in amusement and took out a large basket. Inside was a collection of his adopted mother's cooking. He had told her and his adopted father that he had planned to visit a friend of his, and since it was his housewarming party, some food was in order. Naturally, Martha Kent pitched in, and here were the results, and he had no doubt that the others brought their own selection of food, as they all headed to the dining area. Later, Naruto dug into the home-baked apple pie from Clark's basket and smiled warmly as he placed a spoon down as he spoke. "Man, that was great. I have never had apple pie this good before. Your mother's an awesome cook, Superman." Clark laughed at that as he dug into his own serving of pie and replied, "Yep, Mom always knew her way around the kitchen. You should see how she used to make turkey for Thanksgiving." Naruto smiled at the thought as he and the others were digging in, as Naruto decided to play some simple music to help make the atmosphere better. He stopped playing any of his rock and Japanese music collection, since he had no idea on the music tastes of his friends. So he settled on some slow jazz music that one of his co-workers gave him. "I'll keep that in mind. Anyway, if you see her, tell her I am very grateful." The heroes with them were also enjoying the food, and as soon as they were done with the pie, Flash decided to give his contributions as well. "Here, got these pizza from my favorite place in Central City. Don't know if you guys had pizza back there where you came from, Hokage, but this should be good." Naruto opened the box, and the smell of pizza soon hit his senses, and he took out a good-sized slice of it. He had not tried pizza yet, since he was not all that familiar with them. But now that he took a bite, the taste was definitely interesting. "Well, nice. I still like ramen, but this pizza is definitely new to me." "Yep, you want some hot sauce with that?" The second Naruto heard that, he paled and shook his head. "No? I'm good. I'll come on, Hokage, it's not that bad." Naruto, however, shook his head and replied as calmly as he could, though he was sweating a bit, a first for the heroes since Naruto looked almost afraid of hot sauce. "No thanks, Flash, I appreciate the offer, but after eating the curry of lifer back home, there's no way I am eating anything remotely spicy." That got the attention of the speedster, and he was not the only one as Diana spoke. "What is this curry of life you speak of, Hokage?" Naruto sighed and decided to explain some of his past, and began to tell the League heroes about the mission that got him working with his friend Rock Lee, or Bushy Brows as he called him, his future cousin-in-law Neji, and Neji's future wife Tenten. This mission got him introduced to the curry of life and another pain in the neck when he was a kid, the former Miss Seven Swordsman Raiga. Superman was aghast at what he and the others learned of this Raiga fellow. Sure, he had seen some crazy things in his day, and faced many alien foes, Darkseid being the most difficult to deal with. But that was not enough to make him immune to feeling disgusted by the actions of people who treated lives like toys. "You mean this Raiga buried people alive?" Yep, he thought he was doing them a public service or something, shows how off the rails he was. But he was no sap either, or a run-of-the-mill kind of loon. He was one of the Miss Seven Swordsmen, and these guys are bad news in the ninja world back home. How so? They all are highly skilled warriors who wield some very powerful swords in the day. They also happen to be the elite arm of the Mizukage, though for reasons that still confuse the hell out of me, they usually end up being missing nin and terrorists. Though only the youngest of them that I knew of in the past did not turn missing nin and became something of a friend of mine. They all have their teeth made to look like sharks, and the same could be said for Raiga. He commanded the sword pair Kiba, and they could allow him to channel lightning. Channel lightning? Yep, I know this because that guy nearly fried me and light me up like a Christmas tree more than once. He tried to do the same to my partners, and even a glancing blow will nearly kill you. I got my introduction to this band when I was still fresh out of academy, since one of their rogue members, Nwaichi Zabuza, the Demon of the Mist, came to foul up my team's first mission. He described the deceased Jonin-rank swordsman to the others, and the League were listening intently, and John spoke next, as he had to accept that the image of the Hokage at so young an age facing off against such a brutal fighter was hardly healthy. "You actually faced this man in combat?" "Not too much, but the time that I did, I can say that he was nasty. That massive horse-cleaving sword of his was scary as hell when I was a kid. I could not figure out how he managed to carry that massive horse-cleaving sword of his, but there was no way I was going to find out. The other swordsman I crossed paths with before I met Raiga on that mission was Kasame, and that guy was really scary. He actually looked like a humanoid shark. Blue skin, shark-like eyes, gills on his neck and some on his face, and the teeth only added to the whole picture. Couple that with Samehada, and you are really going to think that he's a real shark." "Samehada? What is that?" Naruto faced Hulk-Girl and spoke calmly. "Think of a sword wrapped up in bandages, but when you remove it, it's covered in massive shark scales that are all razor sharp, and it does not cut, it shreds. Plus it can take some serious punishment, and it even eats chakra. The glancing blow from that takes away a good amount of chakra, and that thing loves to eat it." "Eat? What do you mean eat?" It's a living sword, Hot Girl-san. First time I saw Kasame, I tried to use my special chakra. That Kasame guy just swiped Samehada at me, and it took my chakra, and it was actually moving around like a predator digesting a meal. Apparently it chooses its master if the chakra the guy or gal gives whets its appetite. Anyway, that's one thing story for another time. You wanted to know just what this curry of life stuff is, right? As they nodded, Naruto began to tell them of how Lee told them of the place where he had been revived by the curry of life, and what happened to them when they and the clients finally tried the stuff and the results afterwards. Flash burst out in laughter as Naruto recounted that time he had been with his friends and ate the curry of life, and the others even raised eyebrows at that. Superman commented on that incident when he finished the story when they were shown the new and improved curry of life. How could your friend manage to eat something that spicy? Naruto grinned at that and replied, never really knew how old Bushy Brows could stomach that stuff, but I got to say I was terrified out of my wits when his face turned into a prune, and he was so red I thought he was going to pass out. I mean, all I and everyone else saw on the table were plates of rice covered in thick hot boiling black stuff with lumps in it, plus one heck of a smell that was both weirdly appetizing and scary to boot. When he began to eat like mad and also praise it, we tried it. That idea, I swear my entire body was on fire, and my tongue felt like it was on the receiving end of a fire jutsu blast. How we managed to get ourselves to even stand up after our first taste was a gift from the kami. And when I got stuffed with a spoonful of the stuff by Tenten to wake me up after Raiga knocked me out, I swear I was literally breathing fire. And you should have seen the new version of that curry. It was the reddest curry I had ever seen in my life. I swore my eyes were burning just by looking at it, and there was no way I was eating that. We all had to drag Bushy Brows away from it as fast as we could before he tried it, and I was flatly refusing to not even mention it again. However, after some time, only the kami know why, I caved into Bushy Brows' suggestion to try it. We both went back to the restaurant, and I ate it. Diana was wide-eyed at that and replied with concern. She did not have any fear, but the description of this curry of life was a bit disconcerting. You ate it, what happened to you? Naruto groaned and took a moment to compose himself and soon spoke. I obviously lived Diana Hime, but I had to be bedridden for at least 2 weeks, and all my taste buds were scarred for a month. Even the tiniest drop of the weakest hot sauce felt like my tongue was going to turn into ash. That's why I swear off hot sauce on any dish, no matter what anyone said. Even if I fully recovered, that incident scarred me for life. The league took it in, and after some more discussions and sharing of food and drink, they decided to take it slow. Apart from apple pie, Martha Kent had also prepared sourdough bread with butter and jam, roast beef, sweet corn, blackberry muffins, and also roasted turkey. Diana's other surprise was some Greek food that, while being vegetables, was actually pretty good. Green Lantern's own gift was some cold drinks, and also some other food times he enjoyed to add to the party, and Flash's own supply of food helped. Dawn soon tried some of John's gifts, that being Oreo cookies, and actually liked it. After a few more hours, it was finally going to be nighttime. The heroes cleaned up, and soon all of the other league members left Naruto, as he decided to pack away any of the leftover food and use it for the next day. So that way he could too at the very least cut down on the need to buy supplies. Nighttime. Naruto yawned a bit as he walked into the garden to check on his plants and make sure that they were watered. But as he got there, he was a bit amused to see the biggest rose he had ever seen suddenly come out from the ground. The thing soon opened up, and there was none other than Pamela Isley, who was still dressed in her killer getup, and she seemed to be in more stable mood. The Hokage could not help but wonder just what she was doing here, and also heaped praises on the kami, that none of the other league members were still in his house. He'd have a hell of a time explaining why he had a well-recorded villainess in his house of all things. And he did not even want to guess what Batman's reaction would be, which was why he made darn sure to keep this meeting to himself. Alright Ivy-chan, I have a question, how did you find me? The radiant smiled as she got off the rose and headed towards the blonde and replied. Oh, I have my ways. I did learn that you are here in LA, and after I decided to chat with the plants here, they directed me to this place. Remember, I can speak to plants after all, Hokage. Judging by how we met, I can understand that. Anyway, there's the question of why are you here? You can bet 10 to 1 Batman is going to be very curious where you disappeared to. And he's going to make my life hell if he found out you're hanging out with me. Pamela smiled a bit as she knew just what Naruto was driving at. After all, she had done a lot of things that did not make her the least bit friendly in the eyes of the Dark Knight. Oh, so maybe I could convince you to protect me from him. Pamela moved over and began to rub her more and well-formed and endowed body on the blonde shinobi, and Naruto had to admit that he was being tempted. Pamela apparently was trying to use her physical charms, and he could smell the pheromones that she was releasing to sway his mind. If he did not have Kurama in him, his years of experience, and his more than interesting married life, he would have had a hard time resisting Ivy's combined assault on his manhood. That did not mean he was not enjoying it though, but like most things, he had to pull the plug on this one before it got out of hand. Sorry Ivy-chan, I really enjoy your company, but not to the point that I fight Batman for you. I happen to respect him, and with me and him being on the same team now, that can cause problems, which I do not need. Ivy frowned at that, and Naruto chuckled as he rubbed his hands on her cheek as he replied. Look, I'll plead your case for you if you like before him, but I doubt he'd listen, since your track record is not too convincing. I will even protect you, but only if you haven't done anything that harms innocent people. You remember what we talked about when we met after all, right? If you do that, then you and I are enemies. If not, then I will not fight you and even help you as long as you don't kill indiscriminately. And don't forget, Ivy-chan, I am immune to your poisons, and I am not easily swayed by your pheromones, though that does not mean I don't enjoy the attempt. Ivy smirked at that and nodded. Alright, at least you say what you mean, even if I see you're looking at my breasts. They're a nice pair after all, so can you blame me, Ivy-chan? And besides, unlike most if not all men, I can touch them without getting killed. Ivy blushed at that, and Naruto was amused as he ushered her into his home, and decided to see if he had some vegetables and food that Ivy liked. Ivy took in the place and had to admit that it actually felt nice to be in a house that seemed to be more at peace with nature. She might now show it, but she disliked being in a place where there was not much connection to nature. She only tolerated places like warehouses and factories, so that she could make her move. Here, this place was a bit more comforting than most. She soon placed that aside, as Naruto got some glasses, and had cool water and fruit juice, as well as some good salad that was left over. Ivy decided not to do anything since she was still intrigued by the blonde shinobi, and decided not to foul up this chance to figure out what made him tick. Naruto seemed to notice that and decided to play it cool with Ivy. After a few minutes of drinking and eating, Ivy decided to ask him something. Do you remember what we talked about back in Gotham? Yeah, I do, apart from other things. Ivy blushed a bit more, but shook her head and replied as seriously as she could. I am dead serious here, Hokage. I am not entirely sold on it, but I need to know that you plan to follow through with what you said. You helped me for sure, but that was only once, so I'm not going to let just one instance of you helping tell me to trust you. I'm not going to suddenly change into a different person overnight after all. My life is not exactly the kind that had a happy period, and when I did have them, they never lasted long anyway. So I want to know if you plan to keep your promise. Naruto could tell that she was being serious about what she said, and he had to tell her that he was also very serious about it. He placed down the glass and looked Pamela Isley right in the eye, and gave her a very serious look before speaking with the authoritative tone he had developed in his time as Hokage back home. Ivy-chan, when I give my word to someone, I keep it. I would not have made it to being who I am if I did otherwise, so you don't have to worry about it. If I say I am going to help you as long as you do not kill anyone unless you are defending yourself, then I will do it. I am a ninja, and a ninja's word of honor to someone he helps is not going to be broken, Tadabayo. Ivy looked at Naruto and could see that he was actually being very serious, and while not yet willing to change, she was beginning to feel that perhaps he was someone she could trust. The only other person who she trusted was Harley, who ran with the Joker, so that was saying something considering who Harley happened to follow and have an obsession with. How the woman who was very intelligent and capable of better things could stomach working with that nut of a clown boggled her. Alright, you do sound serious, and from the looks on your face, you are serious, but what's with the word that came afterwards? Naruto gave a sheepish look and replied. That's a verbal tick I had for a long time, no need to concern yourself with it. And that promise of keeping my word also extends to my other offer, Ivy-chan. You want me to prove that to you again? I really hope that you will say yes, Ivy-chan, since what we did there after that factory was closed, was only the tip of the rosebud, if that metaphor works for you. Ivy blushed once more as she recalled the very interesting time she had with the blonde shinobi when they dealt with the factory. She had actually dared him to prove that he was dead serious about the other side of his offer. The one that dealt with him helping her appreciate being a woman in a physical fashion. And boy did he deliver the goods when it counted. She had to admit that it had not been for the fact that they were in an area where no one in Gotham's poorest would go, they would have gotten quite the show. But the two of them never made it to that stage of the whole affair, due to the fact that she still had doubts. Now however she was quite eager to see if he was going to follow through. If I agreed, what do you have in mind? Naruto smiled in a very foxy fashion, and directed Ivy's attention to her mode of transportation. Oh, I don't know, the moon looks really nice tonight, the air smells clean and fresh, and the weather is nice if a bit chilly. And that is one big flower over there, bed size from the looks of it. Originally there was supposed to be a short but strong lemon scene here, but with the crackdown going on, I decided to cancel that. But let me describe the whole scene again. There's a large rose in Naruto's garden. Large and strong enough to serve as a bed, and it's safe, unlike that one that was in the films and series. It's the middle of the night, and Naruto is going to take things further with Ivy. Use your imagination for this one, that should not be too hard, just use my lemon stories as material. Pamela Isley lay back on the rose that she had been writing on, as she was still trying to recover from what had just happened between her and Naruto. Her face was red, covered in sweat, as well as her body, which was stripped naked. Her heart was beating fast, and she was still recovering from the more than intense few hours to midnight. When she had been changed by the chemicals that gave her the powers she had today, she thought that the process would eventually make her more plant than human, and in turn, she would eventually forget what being a woman with a man felt like. But after this night, this was something that she was not going to forget at all, or the way that the Hokage had made her enjoy it. She turned to see Naruto looking at her, also bare of his clothes and in the same boat as she was. But he smiled and gently touched her face from the side of her head to her lips, and she could not help but feel her body stir at the sight of him like this, and recalling what they had done. And she had to admit that he looked delicious the way he was in the moonlight. I take it no one ever said to you that you look like a really radiant goddess like this in moonlight, ha, Ivy-chan? That made Pamela blush as she looked away a bit, much to Naruto's amusement as he spoke. And you look even more attractive when you blush like that. The woman looked back at him and spoke to him. How? Pardon? You look young, but what you did to me, there's no way that any young man could know how to do those things. How do you know how to do all of that? Why? Don't tell me you're disappointed with my performance, Ivy-chan, that hurts my manly pride, you know. I'm not complaining, just wondering how you know those things. There's no way you learned all that overnight. Naruto gave a slightly sad look and answered her. He did not want to reveal everything right off the bat, but decided to give a vague but hopefully convincing reason. You know what I said to you before about me not being your average baseline human? This is one of the reasons. I'm actually a lot older than I look. I might look like a teen or young adult, but in truth I am a lot older. And that gives you a certain level of time in learning things. You could say that I might end up being able to live for a very long time, just like you, Ivy-chan. That surprised her as she got up to her elbows and looked Naruto, who was deep in thought. Of all the things she had expected to be coming out after their very intense coupling, this was not one of them. You mean you're the same as me? Not exactly. I did have children when I was married, more than once, which is a story for another time. But it's hard to accept that I outlasted them. Nothing hurts more than to know that the ones you love and know go off to the afterlife while you remain, along with you having to be the one to bury them. That silenced the woman as she began to take in the information that she had just gotten. She had a suspicion that there was more to it, but she said nothing of her thoughts as she looked at him. For a moment he did not look like a teen or young man, but someone who was older, wiser, and had suffered more than most would have thought or suspected. Naruto, however, then replied with a smile. But they told me to live a good life and enjoy everything that comes, so here I am. I miss them to be sure, Ivy-chan, but I doubt they'd like it if I wasted away in grief and boredom. So don't worry about it, enjoy the moment for all it's worth. The two relaxed a bit more until it was time for her to leave. She still had to deal with her own concerns back in Gotham, and it was going to be a long trip. Still, as they both got dressed, Pamela took what she learned to heart, and began to think about it all as she got on the rose again, and then as she was about to leave, she spoke to Naruto. I'll think about your offer a bit more, all of it, and maybe, just maybe, I might take you up on it. But that is only if you are willing to help me. I will, but only if you do not endanger innocent lives or kill without considering other options, Ivy-chan. With that, the two of them parted as Ivy was back in the rose as it closed up and soon moved back into the ground. Naruto sighed as he finally went to sleep. He knew that he was going to need all the energy he was going to get. But so far, he was not going to complain. Tomorrow was going to sort itself out after all. But he had to admit that this was one day that he was going to have a hard time forgetting. He could only hope that no one else in the league, namely a certain Dark Knight, decided to get too nosy in his personal life. Of course, considering the life Batman lived, he was not going to hold his breath on that matter for too long. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.